Alright, in my last video you watched me turn this guitar into this guitar, and in this video, using only a couple simple tools and some spray paint, I'm going to turn this guitar into this guitar. Check it out. What's going on, everyone? You're watching the Iron Gordon channel. Thank you for being here. Today I'm going to take this metal flake paint job that I did using only hardware store brand paints and about $30, and I'm going to make it look a little bit more interesting using techniques that are prevalent in the lowrider and custom culture car scene, using masking tape and some Kandy spray paint. Let's get in the project. Once I have the guitar completely dismantled, I'm going to wipe it all down with some alcohol to get off all the car wax and any fingerprints that might be on there from handling it. Once that's all said and done, I'm going to scuff up the old paint with a red Scotch-Brite pad so that the new paint has something to grab onto. If you don't have a red Scotch-Brite pad, 600 grit sandpaper would probably be about the same. I'm going to have all the products I use linked in the description below. One of the biggest components of this paint job is having different widths masking tape. So what I'm using here is a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch tape. I'm going to run a 1/4 inch tape all the way around the outside edge of the guitar so that I can then use that as a guide to run my 1/8 inch tape on the inside. So it'll give me a nice consistent 1/4 inch gap all the way around. Now that I got my 1/8 inch line set where I wanted to go, I'm going to tape off the edges and the fretboard so I don't get any overspray on these areas, because I'm kind of making up this paint job as I go along. So I'm not exactly sure what it is that I want to do yet. So I'm just going to tape it off and then come back to it later. But I do know that I want to do a lace pattern on the face, so what I did is I went to a local fabric store, picked up this piece of lace. I hit the backside of it with a low tack adhesive, that way when I go to lay it down on the guitar it grips a little bit tighter and it doesn't leave any big gaps between the guitar and the lace. Okay, to start things off with our paint job, I am using a color called Tropicali from a brand called Little Daddy Rock. They make spray can candy paint. It's essentially a transparent colored paint. The more layers you lay down, the darker the color will get. With the lace pattern laid down, I can dust over it with some Tropicali orange and then peel it back off. And now what that's done, the lace has acted like a masking film to where I can now plow over the whole thing with a color called Gold Fashion from the same brand. That's going to turn all my silver flake into gold. And I moved right through these two colors. I just kept laying down the paint until I was happy with the color. Then I let the whole thing dry for about an hour before moving on to the back. So keep in mind, I'm not showing you step by step exactly how to recreate this exact design. I'm just showing you how candy paint works. By taping off different patterns, you can achieve different color values using the candy paint, because this is a client's guitar. It's very customized towards what he wanted. He wanted the face of the guitar to be a little bit more subtle and the backside to be a much more elaborate tape pattern. So we decided on a Virgin Mary. So I drew her on Illustrator and then plotted her out on a vinyl plotter to create another painting mask with it. As I go, I'm going to remove more of the sticker to create different values of orange. Now, this Virgin Mary was the only specific request that the client wanted. Everything else he said I could make up. So after I laid down Mary, I basically divided the guitar in half using some curved lines, using both my 1/8 inch and my 1/4 inch tape. Then on one section I started laying down 3/4 inch masking tape just to cover it up. And then I used the 1/4 inch masking tape to start creating a repeating shape pattern. Again, just completely making it up as I go along, but making it in a way where I could remove the tape as I paint it, again to create different values of orange. Does that make sense? Once I had my 1/4 inch tape laid down in a way that I liked it, I started peeling off random pieces of it to shoot my first layer of orange paint on with. On that first layer of orange, I did try to lay down a mesh pattern to help create a little bit more interest in some of the stripes, but it ended up not working out that well. After that first layer of orange, I peeled off more random layers of tape and shot it again with orange. Then I continued that tape removal process, also switched the color over to the gold so that it would start to make gold values on top of everything. Okay, so I laid down this 3/4 inch painter's tape in a fan pattern, and I was hoping that it would work, but it didn't come out the way I had envisioned in my head, so I just plowed over the whole thing with gold and just pretended like it never happened. But I did have this little scrap piece of expanded metal sitting around, so I used it as a mask to shoot some polka dots on top of all the gold, just to help make it a little bit more visually balanced. I like the way it came out in the end, so happy accidents. Right now I peeled off all the blue masking tape that was around the edge, and what that did was leave me a nice clean edge that I could start painting the orange over on top of to make that fade into the graphic from the edges in. And at this point, I have some masking film left around Mary and the original 1/8 inch masking tape line on the face of the guitar, which once I peel that off will still be silver underneath. Then I'm going to hit the face of the guitar one more time with gold, and then I'm going to let the whole thing dry for about 10 minutes, and then we're on to clear coat. Okay, for the clear coat, I went big time and I got Spray Max 2K Clear Gloss. Now what this is, it's an automotive grade clear coat that you can buy in a spray can form. But inside this can is actually a secondary canister, and that you have to puncture to get the two parts to mix together. And once it's mixed, it has a pot life of 48 hours. And after that, the can is pretty much hardened and no good.
In this case,
I'll probably use the entire can. Let me give you a little word of advice. If a manufacturer uses 3/4 of its label to tell you how dangerous its product is, you should probably listen. If it has the word poison on it, or a skull, or an explosion, I don't know. Maybe you should read the can. Maybe you should read it twice. Listen to what it says. This stuff's really bad. Use a respirator. Use some gloves. Guys, listen. Your body can only take so much abuse before it starts to cry mutiny. Okay, that's it. I went ahead and shot about 5 coats of clear coat on this guitar. Between each coat, I let it dry for about 10 minutes. So right after I got doing my little tangent about protecting yourself, I just realized as I'm editing this video that I wasn't wearing gloves while I was painting. So the big takeaways from this: A, protect your body. B, I'm a hypocrite. My bad. And then I decided just to let the thing hang here for the next couple days to really harden up. So once it's all hardened, we'll come back and cut and buff it, get rid of all the orange peel, and bring it to a high gloss shine. Okay, so I let the guitar hang here for about 3 days so that it could really harden up, and then it'll take us to our next step, which is going to be wet sanding. What I'm doing here is I'm going to start with a 1500 grit paper wrapped around a sanding pad to evenly distribute the pressure of my hand. Then I'm going to bump it up to 2000 grit to really smooth it out. This part is a little tedious, but the reward is worth it in the end. So hang with me. And that leads us right into our next step, which is going to be polishing. Now, you don't need to go get a palm polisher, but it does make life a little easier. I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can find one. They're not that expensive. I recommend it. I'm also using McGuire's Ultimate Compound as my polish. You just want to work it into the paint until it really starts to shine. Wipe off any excess with a microfiber towel, and you know what? I think the results speak for themselves. The idea behind this video is showing you that you can achieve this with really no special equipment, no mixing of paint, just straight out of the can. You get a great looking paint job with some tape, and it's really limited only by your imagination. I'm going to have most all the products I use linked in the description below. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you've tried any of these techniques yourself and how it turned out for you. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And I'll try better next time.